the draftees. Jared McCain Adem Bona introduced at the Sixers practice facility in Camden earlier today. We had a chance to be there, and some takeaways. I'll start with you, Kyle. I have my own. Derek, I have his own, but some takeaways from what you heard from the two newest Sixers.
I mean, like, two real nice kids to start with. Seem like so both have gotten high marks for character, work ethic, playing hard. Like, all those things are interconnected to me, but both seem to have a good understanding of who they are, not just as basketball players, but as people. There's been a lot of, in my eyes, kind of ridiculous discussion about who McCain is and what he does off the floor, but he seems very comfortable just like being himself and embracing the attention he gets both on and off the floor, and reiterated something he said the other day, which is, I played at Duke. I played at a high pressure place. So it might be more high pressure here just because it's a bigger city, right? But Duke's got a huge fan base, and every one of their games is on ESPN and national TV. And like, he does not shy away from the spotlight. And both these guys were adamant, like, I'm excited to come to somewhere where there are expectations. This is not a rebuilding type of team. This is not a team where if I screw up and I'm making mistakes, then it doesn't matter because nobody's there and nobody cares. Like, both of them seem to embrace the grind, embrace the pressure. I think, frankly, Bona will endear himself very quickly. If he gets minutes, I just think how hard that guy plays, and seems like a very nice, soft-spoken kid. I think people will take to him quickly.
Yeah.
Look, are people super excited about this draft right now? No. Can those guys fit on this team and play important roles? I think so. And I think Bona, especially, just like relative to expectations, I think a lot of the knocks on him are more worry about him as a starting type player. But in 10 minutes, when you're just saying to him,
go out there,
act like you've been shot out of a damn cannon,
yeah.
I think he's ready for that. He said, I love to run. I love to bang. I love to dunk on people. Like, that was the general sentiment of what he said. Sign me up for that type of guy coming off of the bench.
Yeah, and I think the key is he will play, with Paul. Paul had some skill sets to be effective, especially defensively. It was always trying to keep him playing within the confines of the system. I don't think you have any kind of that problem with Bona. And maybe that's where, like,
there will be some skill-related issues,
sure,
but yeah, he's not going to go off script.
But
and do
maybe
anything.
his limitations, not that his limitations are a good thing, but I think he knows who he is. And I think that will be key. And I agree with Kyle. I think both of these guys, if they play, I think fans are going to like them. They might not, like, I think some of the reaction, which you saw on our show too, is just like, maybe the upside isn't there. Maybe the ability to play with Tyrese Maxey isn't there. But I think when you actually get to see them on a court, whether that's summer league in a couple of weeks, whether that's in preseason or regular season, they're both going to play hard, and they're both going to bring skill sets that I do think that the team needs. So they might have questions, but when you get a chance to actually watch them play basketball, I think they are players who will endear themselves pretty quickly.
So the McCain part, when Kyle mentioned playing at Duke and being on national television and all, and he mentioned it himself earlier today, where he said, when the lights get brighter, I basically thrive in that.
I embrace that moment.
Yeah, and you love to hear that. You love to hear that from a young player where he's not shying away from it whatsoever. And a lot of times the ball is simply in his hands. Mm-hmm. Now he has to get ready for a different role where the ball is not in his hands, but that ball may swing to him, like a Game 6, DeAnthony Melton missing a couple of shots there, where those opportunities will present themselves to him. And he seems like he feels he's ready for that moment. They both seem very genuine. They were sharp. Yeah. They were poised as young players, comfortable in front of the audience there, the media members answering those questions. And a lot of times when we sit there, forget about us just sitting there, you watching it on television, we've all seen plenty of press conferences where you're like, that guy's not into it. And look, there was no gameplay. They're at the highest high right now for being drafted into the NBA. But they gave very good, well thought out answers, mm-hmm. and they seem like two really good guys. And if we're talking about the Sixers organization making a big deal in this draft process to get some good character people in here too, it seems like they did with these two young men that they just drafted in McCain and Bona. on the floor. It's going to be fun to see. The Summer League hasn't been what it has used to be, of course, during the whole rebuild where we saw all of that. But now we have two people that we're really interested in, McCain and Bona. You add there with the two undrafted free agents that we just talked about, Turk Smith maybe being back for that as well. Got some fun stuff to really pay attention to and to give people a lot of good things to talk about if you weren't really in on the draft picks and if they show out well enough to give you something to feel good about once the roster is set and complete. And those guys play well in both Utah and Las Vegas as well. So fun to hear them talk because they were really poised sitting there in front of everybody. And Bona's not even upperclassman, sophomore, but he also played in a big program in UCLA. He talked about learning from Jaime Jaquez and seeing what he had to deal with, talking to him about being in the NBA now. And I even thought, not just because I brought this name up, when we talk about playing next to Tyrese Maxey as a small guard and asked about what he does, I don't know if it was your question, but he spoke about how one of the Duke staffers, the coaches, when he asked questions about playing in a certain way, they gave him Fred VanVleet tape.
Yes.
To play like that.
One of his trainers is like, hey, this is a guy for you to study.
And we spoke about that simply because Maxey, him, Nick Nurse dealt with that with the Lowry VanVleet combination in the past. So it was good to hear that. He seems like he's really, really excited to be here. He's already on there in his uniform and doing his photo shoot, and then he's doing his thing. And we'll see what he does out there on the floor.
And I'll say one more thing we've talked a lot about McCain. So one last thing on Bona to reiterate what Derek was saying. They both got asked specifically, like, as you're coming in as a young guy, do you try to focus more on this is what I'm good at and really lock in on that? Or, hey, I need to improve on this. And obviously we've seen with Paul Reed over the years that he just kind of does whatever he feels like at a given moment from time to time. And part of getting him to rotation level was, hey, Paul, learn a bit of discretion and keep the highlight reel attempts to a minimum. Bona, when he got asked that, basically said, like, I'm coming here to play a role. Like, I'm going to do exactly what the coaches tell me to do. I don't have any illusions about, like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And if you do that and you focus on what I'm good at, how I can help the team immediately, then the rest will come. And look, he's got really good perspective as a kid who grew up in Nigeria. He moves to Turkey at 13, right? Yeah. Like as a kid, and goes there for a few years to pursue basketball, then moves to, I believe it was California. And so he's got some real, if you're talking about like a 20, 21-year-old kid, not everybody has that life experience, let alone career experience. So I would say I'm cautiously optimistic on him to help out in the next couple of years.
We all silly like the mayor.